Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the GuitarGuts podcast with me, Mark Murray. Today, my guest is not your typical chef. It's Chef Brian Tsao. He's got a brand new show called Chop and Shred on YouTube. You could look it up. It's half cooking show, half guitar. So click the link down in the descriptions if you want to watch that. You could follow my guest on Instagram at Chef Brian Tsao. Again, his name is in the description below. We talked about how he got his start with guitar, music, cooking, his family life. Real fun conversation, interesting guy, so you're gonna enjoy this one. Each week you could find this podcast on iTunes if you want the audio version. Stitcher also has it, or come over to YouTube and you can see the video version. So if you want to see the gear we're talking about, it's all there. So please subscribe on iTunes and YouTube to support the show as much as possible. You can email me, mark@guitarguts.com, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that. Also, on Instagram, you can message me at GuitarGuts. Follow me there. I post every single day on there. On YouTube, I'm posting a couple times a week too. So let me tell you about the supporter of this show real quick, Iron Age Guitar Accessories. They make these awesome kill switches that I put on a lot of my guitars. It's a little button that when you press it, it cuts the signal out of the guitar. So you can play little rhythms, play cool percussive almost like things with it. Really awesome accessories. They have guitar picks. They have all kinds of things. This one's the Stealth model. It's all black. You can see it kind of blends in with this black stripe on the guitar. And they make all different colors. You can get ones with LEDs built into them so they light up to match your guitar. You can get ones chrome, black, gold, so it matches your hardware. Different colors inside, green, white, red I've seen. A whole line of them. So go check out ironageaccessories.com. Go and enter GG-10. You're gonna get 10% off. And then they're gonna know that you're coming from me. So they'll continue to support the show. Thanks so much, Iron Age Accessories. Now let's get into the show. Chef Brian Tsao. All right, well, welcome to the show, Chef Brian Tsao. How's it going, dude?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? How about you? What's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. It's beautiful Sunday and drinking some coffee and talking to an awesome shredder out of New York.
You and I both, my friend.
Oh, it's
cheers.
You drink coffee all day too?
I do. I'm running on fumes. It's been a pretty intense few days.
Oh man.
It's always intense with my line of work, but it's been particularly intense lately. I was on the Howard Stern wrap-up show on Friday morning. I normally don't get up that early because I work late hours due to the business that I'm in. And then there's just a lot of lead up to press and things like that I have to be on top of. And the official press release not press for the appearance on the wrap-up show. I guess I could kind of informally announce it here as well. I have a fundraiser going on May 9th called Small Bites of Hope in partnership with a nonprofit called Hope for the Day, which is a mental health awareness and suicide prevention group. The event is going to be hosted at one of Chris Santos's restaurants, Chef Chris Santos of Chopped fame. He's one of the regular judges there. He's also my boss over at Beauty in Essex, the owner of Beauty in Essex. They have locations in California, in Vegas, as well as here in New York, obviously. So we're partnering up to do this event to benefit Hope for the Day for mental health awareness, and it's also co-hosted by Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff that had to come together by Friday for a Monday official press release. So like I said, just a lot of craziness leading to today. But I'm glad to be here. I am glad to be speaking to you kind of in person. I guess this is about as good as it's going to get, being that we're bi-coastal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But I'm ready to talk shop with you, talk guitars.
All right. Well, if anyone hasn't noticed yet, Brian is a master chef. I mean, this guy's killing it. If you go on his Instagram page, there's not really any other guitar player chef combinations that I can think of out there. I mean, there's probably some decent chef guitarists, but nobody who's like a specialist in both like you.
Right. I mean, thank you very much, by the way. I really appreciate that, those kind words. I guess, I'm one of the first, or maybe, one of the few chefs who really puts themselves out there as far as not just a chef, but also a musician and a guitar enthusiast. I've been playing guitar longer than I've been a chef. So it's obviously a big part of my life. It's something I greatly enjoy. And while I did kind of put it on the back burner for a period of time due to the demands of my chefing career, I'm really fortunate now. I've gotten to the point in my chefing career where I can um, where I can now kind of incorporate the two, put the two together and put it out there. And now we have the means, with social media to put it out there, these weird combinations of, again, a chef and a guitar player or slash musician. But also you have that freedom with the social media age these days. So while it's really cool to see on social media. I have people hit me up after I post photos. Oh, I'm a chef too, and I also like guitar, or I also like music. It's really cool to see that some of the stuff I'm doing is inspiring people to want to do something similar as well.
Your tagline, not your typical chef, it goes along with that really good. And you even started a new it's not called a podcast, right? It's a YouTube show. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I always call it a web series. So the web series is called Chop and Shred. I actually have to give a shout out to my buddy Ollie Herbert of All That Remains. He was the one that coined the show title at NAMM, this past NAMM. We were hanging out at this past NAMM, and I was telling him I have this idea I want to do. For everyone who's listening, Chop and Shred is a web series in partnership with themusiczoo.com, an amazing guitar retailer based here in the United States, or based here in New York. Chop and Shred is one part guitar nerd show, one part cooking show, all awesome. It's just literally taking the two passions of my life, smushing it into one completely unapologetically, and it's just a whole lot of fun. So before I even had the name, I was just kind of talking about the idea with Ollie during NAMM, and he was the one that said, call it Chop and Shred. So
it's a cool name. And I watched the first episode. I loved it. You did a Line 6 demo playing some cool music, and then you switched over and you were teaching us how to make eggs.
Right. Yeah. Eggs is like a touchy subject for me in the cooking world, because I think it's an ingredient that a lot of people take for granted. I feel like it's something that is often cooked, quote unquote, wrong. I always say there's also no wrong way to cook anything, because who's writing the rule books here? Mm-hmm. But with that said, in a professional setting, there's still a right way to do things, right? Or a widely accepted way of doing things. So something like sunny side up eggs, I felt like was really basic, but also at the same time, with a couple of tips here and there, you could really bring your game up a couple steps. But yeah, eggs, man, I mean, it's one of the key ingredients in any kitchen. It's so versatile, and there's so many things you could do with it.
I am going to be watching, because I'm not a very good cook myself. So I'm going to be interested I hope you keep up with like the basic stuff, like, eggs. That's perfect for a guy like me.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole idea of it, is to kind of keep it basic and straightforward. Something I am developing right now, and I guess you get the exclusive. A lot of people, or no one knows this yet, because only the first episode comes out, but with each consecutive episode, after, for example, 5 episodes, you'll actually be able to combine the episodes and make an entire dish. So yeah, so when you see episode 2, it'll be another component of a dish without you realizing it, because I'm just showing you one basic technique. And then episode 3 will be another component. But then after we get to 5 or 6, maybe 7 episodes, then it'll be time to put a whole dish together. And then before you know it, you're cooking gourmet food right at home.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
So you said you've been playing guitar longer than you've been cooking. How did you get your start playing guitar? What was your first guitar? Like, how long ago did you start playing?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because my parents are moving out of their house right now, and I actually got to unearth my first instrument, I will say. First I'll say is my first instrument was actually the bass guitar. I remember being like 11, 12 years old and watching MTV, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers were doing some live performance, I think on the VMAs or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. One of those award shows, and the Chili Peppers were playing, and I was just magnetized to Flea. Just the way he jumped around and his energy, and it was the song "Give It Away." and there was just so much energy. It was so funky. It was so much fun. I wanted to learn how to play bass from that moment on. I remember from that moment I was saying to myself, I got to learn how to play an instrument. I got to learn how to play the bass.
Wow.
And it turns out my half brother, who I'm very close with, played bass, and it kind of shocked the hell out of me. And I said, "Oh my God, please show me how to play the bass." And he was at that time 15. I was 11, 12. He didn't want to have anything to do with me, or to show me how to play bass. So he said, "How about I give you a bass?" And that just to me was the coolest, most amazing thing in the world. So he gave me his bass. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of plucking strings. I wasn't sure what you did with this hand on the fretboard at the time. So I was just kind of like moving up and down, and the action was so high I couldn't even press the strings down. But that bass was a Harmony student model, a real piece of crap. But I still have it to this day. When I was at my parents' house helping them move, I got to hold it in my hands again. And while it does kind of belong in the trash, it's something I'll never throw out.
Yeah, that's a theme. Nobody ever should get rid of their first instruments. Do you remember what was it Red Hot Chili Peppers? Were that the first songs you started learning?
So I got that bass, and this is where things kind of get funny and weird. I got that bass, and I said, okay, I want to take bass lessons. And I go to a music store and I say, I want to take bass lessons. And of course, before they throw you into classes, they ask you a few questions. What are your interests? What are you looking to play? Blah, blah, blah. So after the guy started speaking to me at the guitar store, he said, sounds like you actually want to play the guitar more than anything. And I said, okay. And he said, and if you get a basic grasp of the guitar, you can, play the basics on a bass as well. So I said, oh, a 2-in-1, I'll take it. I'm down for that. So I think it was a ploy for him to sell me a guitar because I ended up going back home. I told my dad I want to buy a guitar. He said, sure, you can work for me for the summer and then I'll buy you a guitar. So I said, sure, no problem. I worked the summer.
What kind of work did you do?
So my father's an auto mechanic. He still has an auto repair shop. So I was doing things like sweeping the yard, wiping shelves down, cleaning the restrooms, restocking toilet paper, restocking shelves, just basic grunt work around the station. If he needed me to unload a truck with some boxes of oil or something, I would help him and his crew with that. So I did that for an entire summer, saved up about $300, went back to the guitar store and said, what can I get with this? So the guy at the guitar store sold me a plywood Kramer.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a Kramer guitar import, and when years later, because I still have that guitar, when I cracked open the cavity, I found out it was made of plywood. Plywood guitar, some PV solid state amp, and a really crappy guitar cable that was maybe that long. And that was my first setup, man, and I loved it to death. I played the shit out of that thing. So I believe maybe the second song I learned was a Chili Peppers song, and it was at that time, it's when Californication came out. Can't remember what that first, not the first single, the second single for that Californication album. But there was this slide solo that he showed me how to play without the slide, because it was actually very basic in nature. And when he showed me, and you could do it with one finger too. So I remember playing that and thinking it was the coolest thing in the world that I could play along to one of my favorite bands.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You're a big gearhead. I've noticed you are always getting new guitars and decking them out. You've probably come a long way since your Harmony bass and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
What are you mainly playing? Because I've seen you're working on like Wolfgangs. I think you have like an Explorer, Warmoth custom guitars. What's your main go-to axes?
It's real. So I'll show you right now, actually.
He's got his rack right here full of guitars. Black Wolfgang.
Yeah. So this is the guitar I go to 90% of the time when I'm at home. When my daughter wakes up and I'm making her breakfast, not making her breakfast, but letting her eat her breakfast, and I'm just kind of sipping on my coffee, I'll just, I'll noodle around on this guitar. This is the guitar I go to all the time. If I'm sitting on the couch and watching some TV and I want to practice on my sweeps and things like that, this is the guitar. When it comes to recording, that's a completely different story. I really like to pick the guitar that's best suited for the song. So when it comes to that, the guitar that ends up getting used the most is actually this guy. So this is an ESP LTD Ben Weinman guitar. It's the first guitar I got that has an Evertune Bridge. This is an older one. The original one had EMGs in it. I had them switched out for these Fishman Fluents, Tosin Abasi model. And the reason why I end up going to this guitar so often, not only because it plays almost flawlessly, but, I don't have to deal with tuning issues when I record. I don't have to retune after every take, but it has 3 very specific voicings. And between the hollow body design, the wood construction of that classic kind of, Gibson mahogany back, maple top, rosewood fingerboard, things like that, I can get a lot of classic tones out of this because it has that active sound setting, a passive sound setting, and a single coil sound setting. So this is the guitar for recording I end up going to most of the time.
That Evertune Bridge, what's the deal with that thing? I've heard about them, but I don't know a lot about them.
So Evertune Bridges, let me tell you a little something about Evertune Bridge. So Evertune Bridges, I may not be doing the explanation justice. An Evertune Bridge is, okay, let me backtrack a little. A floating tremolo, Floyd Rose floating tremolo. You ever notice when you get it set up just right, the thing stays in tune flawlessly, right? Like no matter how hard you strum it, no matter how hard you hit the bar, if everything's set up properly, a floating tremolo guitar just works amazingly well. And, that's because it's based on tension of the bridge, the springs, the strings, and all that stuff. So every time you hit it, it's always fluctuating on that tension. I would say the Evertune Bridge kind of works on that principle, but each individual string is on its own tension spring. And depending on how you set it between all the adjustment points, when you hit that string, that spring is fluctuating to keep it at that set point so that the string never goes out of tune.
Wow.
Now, it'll still work because as you make the string shorter, it'll ring out a different note, but it'll still carry that same tension. So not only does the tuning stability improve, but the intonation across the entire fingerboard stays in tune, which is amazing. Like when you start using it, you get addicted. I've had 4 guitars already retrofitted with Evertune Bridges.
Wow.
Yeah. So this Warmoth guitar, this is one of the first guitars that I put together myself with Warmoth. Not one of the first, but one of the first successful ones that I put together that was successful. But it was a 6-point Strat style tremolo, and it just didn't vibe properly. You ever have a guitar that everything is set right, everything is designed properly, but it just doesn't vibe properly.
Absolutely.
There's just something slightly off. So this was one of those guitars, and putting that Evertune Bridge kind of solved all those problems. So you'll see it's been retrofitted onto there, and it's on my Gibson Explorer. Some people thought I was crazy for getting an Evertune retrofitted onto a Gibson Explorer. I was scared to death of doing it, but this particular Explorer, the neck wood is a little unstable. I find that it's very sensitive. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but
that's fine with me. I love it.
I really just love the Evertune Bridges. So the main reason why I got into the Evertune Bridges is because time is like really, really valuable to me. I'm extremely busy. I don't have much time, between being a father, having a full-time career in the chefing business, and wanting to do my music as well as this YouTube channel that I'm doing. I have very limited time. And on top of that, I want to try to hit the gym as much as possible, right? So with the Evertune Bridges, like, I don't have to keep tuning between each take. It's perfect. in perfect tune once I pick up the guitar from the start of the session to the end of the session. And that literally, it like saves me maybe an hour of time when I'm recording a track. And that's a lot of time to save. So if I try to work on 5-6 songs a month, that's 5-6 hours. That's 5-6 hours I could be applying to something else. So that was my main reason. And people ask me all the time, does it affect your tone? Absolutely. But for what you get out of it, it's just, I think the benefits outweigh the flaws that you get out of it. I don't remember what the original question was. You asked me about Evertune bridges, but that's my Evertune spiel.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to look into it. I've never even played one before, but I remember it. Are they exclusive to LTD?
No, not at all. ESP LTD I think was the first major, if I'm not mistaken, the first major company to have them retrofitted onto their guitars. So their guitars will be the easiest ones to find to have them factory installed. But you can go onto Evertune.com. You can look up the installation program. You can send in one of your guitars to get it installed. Through Evertune's website, they have a variety of guitars that you can get from them, where they will install the bridge at their factory for you. I think some of the guitars even already have it installed, so the wait time is minimal. Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank as far as other brands that have Evertune bridges stock, but ESP LTD is definitely one of those that, is one of the brands that has it readily available.
So your recording setup, what are you using to record all your videos and your songs?
So for the audio component, excuse me. Oh yeah, feel better. I am using a 27-inch MacBook Pro, a 2018 model that my wife got me for Christmas. Bless her heart. For an interface, I'm using a Focusrite Sapphire Pro 24. For 90% of my tones, I'm using the Line 6 Helix. I go SPDIF, so I keep it digital into the Sapphire Pro 24, so there's no conversion needed. However, for the DI track, I plug into a Radial Pro DI and then take the through into the input of the Helix. And then I'm able to XLR into the Sapphire for the raw DI in case I want to reamp later. 90% of the time I don't need to reamp, but I just like to have that raw DI track so I don't have to think about it in case I don't end up liking the tone that I go with. I try to dial it in properly right from the get-go. And I use Pro Tools. I think the latest one is Pro Tools 12. Whatever the latest one is, that's what I'm using. I've been using Pro Tools since Pro Tools 9, and I'm just used to it at this point. And that's my audio setup for 90% of the time. I don't really record much vocals. If I do, I have some condenser mic that I can't even remember the name of the brand or anything like that. I bought it 15 years ago and it's worked fine. And I don't use it enough to warrant me wanting to buy another mic. And that's my main setup. Spectraflex cables. All my cables are Spectraflex. I like that consistency. I think it's the OCD part of me. And I think that's it for audio. Yeah.
Do you edit all your own video and audio for your like gear reviews and all your songs?
Up to this point, yeah. Up until Chop and Shred, yes.
Wow.
So Chop and Shred is basically 2 shows in one. For the first part, which is the musical part / the verbal, review. So it's a demonstration followed by a verbal review. That part is completely filmed by me, directed, edited, so on and so forth. When I'm taping it, even on my YouTube channel before the first episode of Chop and Shred aired, I, put out about 10 videos on my own personal YouTube channel before I partnered up with the Music Zoo. Everything was, again, directed, produced, edited by myself. So the camera that I used for that footage, actually, the very first stuff, I was using an iPhone. My philosophy behind it was just get it started. For so long, I've been following all these guys like Ryan Bruce, Fluff, Glenn Fricker, Ola England. They make these amazing looking and sounding videos. And I always thought that anything I put out would have to be to that standard. But I said to myself one day, I'm not going to delay any longer. I'm just going to get started. So I started with an iPhone 4. Now I use this Zoom. So it's this guy. It's a Zoom Q8. It's very convenient. Small size, has the screen that turns around. You can plug XLR mics directly in. So it's very convenient. You can. It has these exchangeable microphones, so I can put on a shotgun microphone. I could put on like a room style microphone. Video quality isn't the greatest, but it's definitely better than an iPhone.
Yeah, it looks
I don't know
cool.
about that now with the iPhone 8 or X or whatever the latest model is, but that's what I'm using now. At some point, I may upgrade for the cooking segments of it, because it was much more involved as far as angles. Because I really wanted to show people, okay, I'm showing you how to make sunny side up eggs, but I want the camera angle to be able to go really deep into the pan so you can see what I'm talking about when I say something like, when you make sunny side up eggs, don't let it get any crispy brown edges, something like that. I can't do that in a wide angle shot, which this camera is better suited for. So I did enlist the help of two friends, Aman Khosla and Tanya Ghosh. They're a couple and friends that live by me over here. Tanya is an amazing photographer. Aman is an amazing musician, but also just great content producer himself. So they kind of helped me produce and edit and direct the cooking segments. And once I got that from them, I kind of slapped the two together. Not kind of, literally slapped the two together.
Who would you say is your biggest influences, like the Mount Rushmore, would you say, of musicians that keep you going still today?
As far as musicians that still keep me going today, that's a good question. It's recently, I have to be honest, I don't have a Mount Rushmore of musicians that I go to today. I think the past year, my tastes have been very, very eclectic. Still focused around the metal and rock genre. But when I was at NAMM, I was hanging out with some people that were, listening to more hardcore, old school DC style hardcore. Before that, I was listening to a lot of Goat Whore, actually. I'm wearing their shirt right now. 2 months ago, I was on this big 80s kick. So I was listening to a lot of Journey and early Van Halen and stuff like that. And right now, I've been listening to more podcasts than anything. So it always fluctuates. Now, as far as like just straight up musical influences that left a lasting impression on myself, I would say Killswitch Engage is definitely one of them. Van Halen's definitely one of them. Tool is definitely one of them. And this may sound like a cop-out, but Metallica. I mean, if you listen to metal, it's got to be Metallica's got to be in there.
Van Halen and Metallica, you hit my top two right there. So
there you go.
The two biggest
got good taste,
cop-outs.
my friend.
So you were the winner of Beat Bobby Flay. Was that an internet show?
No, that was actually a Food Network show.
It was on TV?
Yeah. So my episode aired, I think it first aired 3-4 years ago. I don't remember at this point, honestly. So I have done both Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay. I did Chopped a year before I did Beat Bobby Flay. I had lost that, so I'm not going to tell anyone what the name of that episode is. But that loss fueled the fury and anger going into Beat Bobby Flay. So a year later, I went into the show Beat Bobby Flay, which aired on Food Network. I was the only winner for season 1, and I went in just not really giving a damn. I just did not care. I said to Bobby Flay's known for Tex-Mex, and he's especially known for his tacos. So I said, if I'm going to go onto his show, I'm going to go straight for his throat. And I challenged him to a taco challenge, and came out victorious.
That's awesome, man. So is this something you've always wanted to be in front of the camera, working on social media, being on TV, or is this something that you've been kind of pulled into because you've had opportunities? How's it been for you?
Definitely from my first memory, I've always wanted to be a star of some sort. I've always enjoyed attention. I grew up, I mentioned I have a half brother, but I basically grew up as an only child. And in my early years, we moved around a lot, so I didn't have a lot of friends because I moved around a lot. And I always craved attention. I always wanted to be in movies and TV and things like that, but my parents absolutely did not want me to take any part of that. So when I would ask them, hey, can you take me to go audition for such and such movie part or something, like it's something I want to get into, they would say absolutely not.
Wow.
Or if I said, if I want to, hey dad, I want to, I want to be a news anchor one day, my dad would say absolutely not. It was always doctor or lawyer or be a police officer or a firefighter or something. I mean, not to put down any of those careers by any means, but something a bit more generic, I guess you could say, as far as career fields go.
Yeah, something respectable or honorable, like an old school kind of job.
Right. Yeah, judge on the Supreme Court or something like that. And the thought of doing of any type of fame or popularity or things like that, of course, as a young child, you're going to dream about it, and that's what you're kind of striving for in your mind. But it kind of went on the back burner at some point. It's something that I had always wanted to pursue in some way. The thought of being popular and famous was something cool at the time. Not that it's something I shy away from, but I just think I'm a generally photogenic, kind of outspoken, kind of happy person. And I just couldn't stay away from wanting to be on camera. With that said, though, there was a point in my life where I just didn't care. And if I found that when I stopped caring is kind of when things started to happen, oddly enough.
I was going to actually ask you, so how has your approach to social media, to all this stuff, changed since you started it out? And it sounds like that's part of it, is not trying too hard, or, being genuine. That's a big part of it. Right.
So, people who are listening to the past 5 minutes may think, wow, this Brian guy really is like a cocky, fame-seeking leech. But I think it's one of those things when you're a young kid, you want to be Batman or Superman. It's something kind of outlandish. And as you get older, you kind of accept the reality of what your situation is. And, you have to kind of be a bit more grounded. But with that said, it always gave me a goal to strive for. And at some point, I just realized I'm more miserable trying to grab something that is not natural, I guess you could say. It's not natural to be famous, or it's not natural to have that kind of attention, and the moment I stopped caring and trying too hard, and I just started being myself and started being more concerned with the situation at hand and valuing what I already have, again, is when I feel like things kind of started to come together. It's when I stopped caring about TV is when I beat Bobby. I didn't care about winning. I just went in saying to myself, I'm going to do the best I possibly can. I'm going to challenge him to something that's going to be a bit shocking, but I didn't do it to shock people on television. I did it for myself and to kind of scare the hell out of him. Like, holy crap, this guy has the balls to challenge me to something like that. I did it for my own satisfaction. And same thing with my whole social media. I started social media because I really started social media with Instagram. It was one of my older restaurants. We were all having a break, and the staff and myself were sitting at this table, and they were talking about this relatively new app called Instagram. And they showed it to me, and they said, you should use it to self-promote yourself. So I said to myself, I could use this to promote the restaurant, to improve business. And my pictures were shitty, but I didn't care. It was just about taking a few pictures, and hopefully someone will think the picture of this food is delicious. And then I realized, wait, I can use this as an extension of myself. I can use this as a tool for people to see who I am. And again, when I stopped caring, when I stopped trying too hard, is when I kind of found my identity. I realized, I don't have to be this. I don't only need to be a chef. I can be Brian, the chef and guitar player and family man. I stopped posting photos of my family on social media at some point, just because I want to keep the two separate. I really value the privacy of my family life. But there was a time where it just and now I have the social media page that I have now, and it's not a huge following either, but I find that my followers are very loyal and very into what I'm doing, and that's all that matters is, if you care, you care, and hey, come along for the ride and let's have fun together.
You've got a ton already going on with the new podcast, the charity. Is there anything moving forward that you still are looking at and going, okay, this is one of the things on my list that I want to start implementing into my whole game I've got going already?
That's a great question, actually. So for myself, I'll give you a little story. I always like to tell stories. I always had a bucket list. I always had a list of to do, and I still have a to-do list. I used to always have this list of accomplishments I needed to obtain at some point, things that I needed to check off. And one of those things was to defeat an Iron Chef. Bobby Flay's an Iron Chef. I went on to that show, I defeated him, and I literally felt nothing. I became depressed after a couple weeks because one of these things on the very top of my bucket list has just been crossed off. Now what do I go towards, Sure, okay, now I can try to be an Iron Chef myself, which I'm not, which I do not care about. I'm not trying to accomplish that. But it's just when you knock something that big off your list, it's like, what do I do now? And then at some point I realized for myself, everyone's a little different. I don't need a bucket list. Like, I need a general direction, and I need for that to stay positive. I need that to be progressive, but I'm going to let the road kind of define itself. Never in my life did I think I'd be going to NAMM. Never in my life did I think I'd be hanging with some of the people that I hang with. And now I don't look at them as these are the famous people I hang with. I look at them as, oh, these are my buddies, and this is just the path that my life has taken me on. This is the person I'm hanging with right now because this is where I'm meant to be at the very moment. So, if I don't accomplish anything further, so be it. I'm perfectly happy and content with being a father and a family man. But I just think because of the personality I have and just the amount of general energy that I have, I'm always going to be trying to find some other hustle and some other thing to strive towards. What it is, I don't know. I have a general direction, and that's about it. So mental health and suicide prevention is something I'm very passionate about. It's something that I plan to continue on working with. But if you asked me 5 years ago, do you think you would ever co-host with the vocalist of one of your favorite bands and a Food Network judge? Hell no, not in a million years. So who knows what the future holds for me.
That's amazing stuff. Yeah. I'm the exact same way as far as lists and crossing things off. And there's a saying that people need three things in life. They need someone to love, something to do, and something to hope for. And when you start crossing off these big bucket list things, you lose that something to hope for. It's like, right. That's something big that people like me and you are always pushing. We're always thinking, what's the next thing? And once you cross these big things off, it's like you start wondering, like, what's next? Like, that's an interesting thing to consider.
Right. I mean, so for yourself, like, where do you see yourself going? I mean, you have a pretty big following on Instagram yourself, and this past NAMM was your first NAMM?
I've been probably 5 times, 6 times. I've been going. I have a friend who owns a company, American Recorder, and they sell all kinds of miscellaneous musician accessories. And he gets me in every year. He offers me tickets. So
cool.
I've been fortunate enough to be going, I think, since 2011. I've missed a couple in the middle there, though.
Right. Cool, man.
But yeah, same thing. I never expected to be going to NAMM and starting these like Metallica themed months and having thousands of people from all over the world talking about. I mean, where these paths that we find ourselves led down sometimes it's incredible.
Right, and I think you can't. Those are things you can't plan. Again, you can have that general direction, but there are so many. What's the word I'm looking for? There's so many variables in life, things that you cannot control. So when you spend all that energy and time trying to control things that you can't, rather than just kind of letting it happen, I'm not saying like let's live in anarchy and, not not be organized, but just in general, you kind of have to be prepared for anything. In my line of work, the key thing to success is consistency. I'd hate to use this example, but the reason why McDonald's is as successful as it is because of consistency. The burger you have in New York will be the same burger you have in Florida, will be the same burger you have in Toronto, so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. The general quality will be the same here as it is in Asia. So you know exactly what you're receiving. When people come to dine at my restaurant at Beauty in Essex, they need to know every time we dine here, it's going to be this smashing, amazing meal. So that when they refer it to their friends and their friends come for the first time, they know they're getting this amazing, delicious meal, so on and so forth. So the hardest part of my job, but the key to the success is that consistency, is making sure the dish that came out in the beginning of the night when the cooks are full of energy to the dish that comes out at the end of the night when the dish are borderline in tears because of how busy it was, is the same quality. And I don't know how I do this all the time. I don't know how I got into this tangent, but that's one of the keys. Oh, I'm sorry. So I was talking about variables. So again, you don't know what variables are going to hit you to steer you into a different direction. But if you close yourself off because you're so set on this one plan, you're also closing yourself off to other opportunities.
I think a big part of it is doing what you love, being genuine with it, and then you're going to be surrounded by people and opportunities, and doors are going to open, like you said, that you never even expected, and you're going to find yourself going down paths that are going to make you more successful. But it's got to all be genuine, and it's got to be, something you love, or else, like you're saying, the consistency. You got to show up. You got to put in the long hours. You got to, as a chef getting tired at the end of the night, like you're talking about, you got to have some fire in you to want to even do it, right, or it's not going to work out in the first place.
Right. I mean, look at all these people who set world records or do these amazing feats or start these multi-billion-dollar companies. What you and I, the average person, ends up seeing is the result of all those hours, blood, sweat, and tears. And it seems so easy, but man, like, they had to close themselves off and open themselves to this opportunity, that opportunity. I always say that my success is built on the bricks left behind the failures of my broken dreams. That's something I tell a lot of people who ask me about how I got to where I am. Well, I learned more from my failures than from my successes, honestly. So yeah, it's absolutely about one part going with the flow, one part having a plan, and one part just having a fire in yourself to keep you motivated. Because again, as I mentioned, all those people that you see accomplishing world records and having all this success, man, they had that fire to keep driving them, even though they kept on hitting a wall, even though they kept on having people telling them that they can't move any further. Well, it's about how do you push yourself to break down those barriers, right?
Mm-hmm. In New York, you're surrounded by good food, good music. I'm sure people come through all the time. I want to know about what your favorite pizza is in New York, but first, what are some of the best concerts you've seen? What are your favorites that have come through the area? I mean, everybody comes through there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely lucky in that regard. We have so many cool shows over here. One of the greatest shows I had ever seen in my entire life is, of course, when Guns N' Roses came through town. They were playing in Jersey, which, might as well be New York. They were playing at the MetLife Stadium. Some people may flame me after I just said that. Who gives a shit? Anyway, I saw Guns N' Roses on the Not in This Lifetime tour in Jersey at the MetLife Stadium. Amazing show. Absolutely mind-blowing show. I saw Periphery on the Juggernaut tour. That was a mind-blowing show as well. They sounded amazing. I mean, they sounded just like the record to the T. It was unbelievable. I've seen them many other times after that too. They've also sounded amazing, but that tour really left an impact on me. That was the first time I had seen them live. Another show that really left a huge impact wasn't even in New York, was in LA when Marty Friedman was playing. And I wasn't even expecting to go watch him, but a buddy of mine's like, yeah, we're going to go to the Whiskey and watch Marty Friedman. That show, I swear to you, I hold in as much high regard as I do to the Guns N' Roses show.
Really?
It was such a way smaller show, but it was just that much fun. It was that amazing. It was that well executed and just entertaining, but displaying so much technique, but also having so much feel. And it wasn't just Marty who was amazing. It was the entire band. Yeah, it was definitely, that was one of my top shows. Those are the ones that really stand out on the top of my head. I think another one that really left a lasting impact was Our Lady Peace, Canadian band. And that was one of my first shows when I was 16 years old. Mm-hmm. It was quite a while ago. And I don't know what Our Lady Peace has been doing since then, but that was way back in the day. Another show that left a really lasting impression.
I think I know the answer to the next question, but what's your favorite thing to do when you're not playing guitar?
It's not cooking. Before I answer that question, I've always loved cooking. It's something I'd always done, and it's definitely that thing that I would do on my free time. I just love to cook. Even before this whole world of celebrity chefs and Food Network, things like that, it's always something I'd like to do. Now that it's my career and I do it day in and day out, honestly, my favorite thing to do when I am not doing music and or cooking is spending time with my family. I love being a father, love being a husband. I just love that atmosphere, and my daughter's 2.5 years old right now. She's so much fun to hang around with. And it's amazing to watch this bag of flesh and bones and hair and fluids transform, grow, and you literally see this transformation and growth and self-awareness and developing creativity. My daughter dances to music when no one had, you can hear her in the background.
That's funny. Right when we started talking about it, the first time we heard her.
She's like, Dad, stop talking about me. To see her dance to music when to see her dance to music for the first time when she had never heard music before, or no one showed her how to dance, but you see her there?
Yeah, there she comes. She wants you to play some songs for her, probably.
What's wrong? Here, you're on the podcast.
Hi.
Hi. Say hi. What's wrong?
Who is this guy? Is he in outer space?
To see her, again, like, move her body to the rhythm, and you see somebody do that for the first time. It's really fascinating to see her learn words and then put words together. Like, you would teach her colors and you would teach her something like, this is a car. And then one day out of the blue, you're walking on the street and you see a yellow cab pass by and she goes, yellow car. Seeing things like that is really fascinating and fun for me. So spending time with this one.
Does she like your guitar playing?
Yeah, she actually knows. So she knows what this is. Let me shout out to Dunlop for these custom Tortex picks. Thank you guys. You guys are the bomb.
Oh, those are awesome.
She's reaching for a pick herself. Here, take this one, sweetie. Yeah. Can you show the camera? Yeah, guitar pick. So she knows that you use that to strum. She knows you use that to strum a guitar. She's gone. She knows you put it in your mouth when you're tapping. Okay, thank you.
Oh, he's going to do a solo for us, that means.
Good job, sweetie. Okay.
Another one.
They're trying to do a podcast. Strum the guitar over there. And play the guitar, okay? Okay. Here, play the guitar. Play that one. She also loves to turn the knobs on my pedals. It's fine. Pedals are off.
Yeah.
But she's strumming.
She might come up with some interesting tones for you, though. You never know.
Yeah, true that. Maybe that's a new trend I should start. I should do that as a one-off video. Baby tones.
Toddler tones.
Toddler tones.
There we go.
Yeah, and see what happens. All right, now we're going to turn on all the pedals and see what we get. I like that.
All right, Brian. Well, I mean, where should people go to check out your stuff? I know Chef Brian Tsao, Tsao is how you spell his last name on Instagram,
Yes. Right? Yeah, so it's on Instagram, Twitter. You can find me at Chef Brian Tsao, spelled Tsao. On Facebook, you can just type in Chef Brian Tsao. I'll probably be the first one that pops up. And also at themusiczoo.com, go onto YouTube, type in Chef Brian Tsao. You'll see my old web series with Metal Injection. Type in Chef Brian Tsao, Chop and Shred. That's my new web series. And those are the main platforms you guys can find me on.
All right. Dude, Brian, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you putting out some time and talking with me. And it was awesome to hear about your history and your gear and your family and cooking and everything, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it was a blast, man. It was great to talk to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next NAMM.
I'll be there.
And yeah, till then, take care, bro.
Cool. You do the same. See you later.
All right, man. See you later.
Hey, thanks so much for watching, guys. Check out the links in the description below to follow my guest today. Check out Iron Age Accessories, link down in the description. GuitarGuts.com, at GuitarGuts on Instagram. Please subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. And I love the hell out of you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.